Welcome to the State of Security. I'm Sabrina and this is Ken. Today we're going to discuss some of the recent news stories regarding information security. Our first talking point will be a frequently asked question that we get a lot of requests for from our viewers. Also, I should note that if you have any questions that you want Ken to answer, you should email me and I'll relay the questions to Ken during the next State of Security, and he'll answer them for you. And it could be about anything security related or whatever you feel up to asking Ken.
Great.
And you can email spowers@securestate.com with your questions. Anyway, one of the requests we get is this question. They're asking, Ken, we just put in a web application firewall. Is our site safe?
That's a good question. Of course, depending on how it's implemented, web application firewalls definitely add a layer of defense in your external posture. And a lot of the requirements are calling for it. Specifically, PCI does require or call for a web application firewall. So it's something where if you put it in, just make sure you put it in correctly. There's a lot of times that it has to learn the site and what the site is doing, so that if you're putting in forms, your online banking site doesn't allow you to put special characters and whatnot. It would block those. So if that's a requirement, you're going to have to tweak your web application firewall to allow that stuff through. Otherwise, it'll look like an attack and it'll deny some of those requests.
Okay.
Yeah.
And isn't performing a web application security assessment really the best way to get a true idea of what's going on and how secure your site is?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first step. Obviously, understanding your current state, figuring out where the vulnerabilities are, and then putting that roadmap in place to really get to the desired state would be the web application firewall. So that's a maturity. Clearly, if you haven't done anything, the first step is to perform the web application security assessment, and then the application firewall would be a layer on top of that.
Okay, so it's kind of like a layered approach.
Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
The next thing I wanted to address that I was kind of a little alarmed by was this Department of Defense, how they released this strategy for operating in cyberspace. But the thing that I thought was really crazy was that they were saying that this threat to intellectual property, it was the most pervasive cyber threat today, and that every year, I'm reading this, okay, because it's kind of wordy, an amount of intellectual property larger than contained in the Library of Congress is stolen from networks.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
So I thought that was crazy. And then they were putting these initiatives together that's supposed to, help this threat, but these initiatives sound kind of vague.
Right.
Do you think these are going to help, or?
Well, I mean, if you haven't taken a look at it, it's you can definitely go up to www.defense.gov and you can pull up the latest cybersecurity initiatives. There's a strategy 1 through 5. We like number 3 the best, which comes from Long Duck Dong, who talks about enabling whole government cybersecurity strategy. So clearly they're onto something here. I would definitely look at it. If you know the movie reference of Long Duck Dong, email Sabrina and you get yourself a free Secure State t-shirt.
So if you know what movie that's from, send me a little email, spowers@securestate.com, and you'll get a prize. Okay. Now we're going to talk about another crazy statistic.
Yeah.
60% of Adobe Reader users are vulnerable.
Huh.
Why?
Yeah. Well, clearly one of the things that we don't do a lot of is updates. The network administrator of your companies probably do automatic updates with your operating system, but the software on itself is left up to the end users most times. And Adobe is one of them that usually gets neglected. If you're a couple revisions behind, 8.x, you could be vulnerable. So probably the biggest thing here is go back, check your Adobe. There's a lot of new attacks coming out specifically for PDFs. People are sending emails with PDFs in there and trying to attack the Adobe infrastructure or application that you have running.
So pretty much just make sure to update your system.
Right. But
Be
this is something that generally, again, is not automatic as in your Windows updates and stuff.
So you have to be proactive about it.
You got to be proactive, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Then another thing that I thought was kind of creepy is this MedVet science company. They accidentally allowed their customer accounts to be searched, found, and indexed by the Google search engine. So when people were getting drug and DNA testing, all of their results were shown on Google. So it's kind of a little bit of a reminder about the internet age and how Google, you can find out a lot about people, so you have to make sure what you're putting on there.
Right.
You don't want other people to find out. And IT professionals, what are some techniques they need to make sure they know so that they're not putting anything on Google that could mess up their intellectual property?
Right, and I mean, what you're finding is, from a standpoint of an end user using Facebook and Google and stuff like that, obviously information you post up there, pictures and whatnot, that's going to stay up there, it's going to be indexed, it's going to be archived. But what we're finding here is that the search engines and crawlers are actually crawling sites and pulling information out of databases and stuff that's not necessarily secured or not necessarily taken off the index crawlers, and they're getting pulled and sucked into Google's search engine. Which, again, not necessarily security vulnerability on any one regard, it's just a misconfiguration that then the Google is going through and actually archiving and indexing these. So, been happening for years. You know, probably the best thing to do from a corporation perspective is, again, when you're doing your penetration testing, Google hacking and some of the other things would kind of pick up if there are leakage of information through that, through this medium. Yeah.
So just keep an eye on the Google.
All right.
Okay. Now we have some exciting news coming up. Secure State will be heading to Vegas. We're going to be having Tom Eston. He will be presenting at Black Hat with Josh Abraham and Kevin Johnson. They're going to be doing a very interesting presentation there called Don't Drop the Soap, Real World Web Service Testing for Web Hackers.
Yeah.
And they have a very interesting white paper that they've drafted together about that as well. But it will be released after the presentation at Black Hat to the public, and also at DEF CON. Tom will be speaking with Josh and Kevin as well. And the whole profiling team is going to DEF CON, so that should be pretty exciting for them.
It's a good time.
Have you ever been there?
I have.
Did you like it?
I did.
What was your favorite part?
Vegas.
What was your least favorite part?
Vegas. You know, the funniest part is when you go to DEF CON Black Hat, if you haven't been, if you've been, this is ring true. It's in end of July, beginning of August. Temperatures in Vegas about 110 degrees. Hackers notoriously wear black. They don't wear shorts for obvious reasons. And a lot of them wear trench coats. And literally walking through the desert, you'll see people in black trench coats and jeans walking through to get to the conference. And
crazy.
you know, it is. You know, I got my jammies on, I got flip-flops, I'm sweating as it is. I can only imagine
a trench
the coolest
coat
factor you got to be able to wear with a trench coat in Vegas.
So, pretty impressive.
It is. Good luck to everyone out there.
Yeah.
Tom, nice job, and the team. You guys will have some fun.
And don't forget, if you know the movie that
Long Duck Dong
was from, then make sure you send me a little email with the movie title at spowers@securestate.com and all of your questions for Ken to answer.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks for watching.
Take care.